Hey, Sid.
Hey, Dad. I feel like I look like a little peasant boy right now.
Why? Because
I don't know. I just feel like delusional.
Okay, I don't know. I don't see the tie-in to peasant boy and delusional.
That's true. Sorry, peasant boys out there.
Yeah, right. Or delusional people.
Yeah, you guys are all great.
Not to say that every delusional person is a peasant boy and or girl.
Yeah, girl, boy, whatever you want to be.
Yeah, or delusional. Okay, so tonight we were both admitting we're feeling a little flat, right? You're coming off of being sick. Yeah.
And I also just quit nicotine.
Okay, like that. Let's talk about that.
I don't want to talk about it. I want to smoke.
And do you want to break things and smash things?
Yeah.
Do you really?
No. Well, that's day to day.
Okay. Oh.
I have really bad intrusive thoughts.
Okay. Now, was it a New Year's resolution? Be honest.
I guess so, but like those are all like kind of BS. We should talk about that,
Yeah, we
right?
should. Yeah.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
what's so new about January 1st, you know?
I do a podcast every year where I kind of talk about a better way to do New Year's resolutions because most people by now, it's today the 9th, have already quit their New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's I think the first day that people typically are giving up is about the 7th. So if anybody is still doing a New Year's resolution, you are well ahead of the ballgame.
I definitely stopped and started.
Did you? Okay.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, okay. So tell me, I want you to poke holes in everything I say tonight, please.
Okay.
So what I'd like to say about New Year's resolutions is, first of all, if you just do it because you think you're supposed to, I have to lose weight. But if you really aren't into that, then already you're set up for failure. Does that sound dramatic and negative?
No, that's true,
Okay,
right? I mean,
yeah,
if you
'cause
don't
you have
want
to-
to do something, of course you're not going to do
No,
it.
it is called a socially compliant goal, which means I'm doing it because I think I'm supposed to.
Like me going to college.
Yeah, it is.
I do not belong there.
Okay, and so if we are doing socially compliant goals, that means we're doing it because we think we're supposed to, or we'll let somebody else down. And if that's the case, then our motivation is weak and ineffective because it goes against your process of unfolding, of becoming. Is that true?
That, you lost me at process of unfolding.
Oh yeah, that's a fancy way to just say I don't want to do it. So if I am, if I'm doing it, then if you're doing stuff that you think you're supposed to, but you really don't want to, that's when we turn to our good old friend experiential avoidance, which means I will go on my phone, I will watch TikTok videos, I will do whatever other than the thing that I already don't want to do.
I love experientially avoiding.
Okay, and in this day and age, back when I was a kid, Sid, the only thing you experientially avoid with is throwing rocks.
Playing with sticks in the dirt.
That's right. Okay, but back to though. So how many times have you tried to quit nicotine before?
Yes.
And how has that gone?
Well, we're here, aren't we?
What's the longest you've gone?
Oh my gosh, maybe like a couple days.
Okay, and then what happens?
I hit it again.
Okay.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. It feels like I'm like a little like crackhead, you know?
No offense to
With love to
small
I've
crackheads.
met crackheads that I love more than most of the people in my life.
Oh,
but
David, who has said, this is my daughter. I'm glad you said that. Sydney is my daughter. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, a dad, and you are my daughter, and
that's all. and I'm here.
you are, and you yes, she's a baddie. I think that's a good
Don't say that.
No? Okay. All right, but we were talking though about, I pulled up some stuff because you are not the first person that I am talking to in my practice that is trying to quit nicotine. And tell me if this lines up. When somebody gives up nicotine, here's the timeline. After 20 minutes, your blood pressure and your heart rate will return to normal. I don't know if you were paying attention at 20 minutes after when you stopped.
I don't even know when my heart is beating.
Okay, but here's what I think this is interesting. After 12 hours, blood oxygen level is increased to normal. 48 hours, damaged nerve endings start to regrow, and anger and irritability have peaked.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, right at that 48 hours. Okay, have you been more angry and irritable?
Kind of. I don't know. I just feel like I'm on edge, like
Okay.
with everything.
Okay, has anybody ticked you off that normally wouldn't have or something?
You. Just kidding. I'm kidding.
Are you though?
No, I
Here
actually
it
am
is.
kidding.
It's
But if
intervention.
if I
Okay.
do, like, if I am rude to you, I'm really sorry, and I'll try not to be.
I look at it as an opportunity to differentiate and self-confront and grow. So please, I welcome it. Do you buy that? So I'm working on that. Okay, but then 48 hours, damaged nerve endings start to regrow, anger and irritability have peaked. 72 hours, the entire body is free of nicotine. The number of cravings is peaked and lung function is improving.
Someone just said, where'd you get your hair beads? They're from Amazon.
Oh.
Continue.
Okay, thank you for the rose, too. A little important. Okay, so then at that point, it's 72 hours, and this is what the reason I think this stuff is fascinating, the timeline of when somebody quits nicotine, is that 72 hours it's out of your system. So at that point, there's a lot of things that are habitual. You know, people feel like they need to do things with their hands, or they go outside. It becomes like more of this community event. Do you feel like there's some of that?
What do you? I don't know the outside thing. I've
It's
been
like
like
the smokers
buying
who,
myself like toys and stuff, so
okay.
I have like something to do with my hands.
Yeah, for real. And that's
Ooh, a bird.
fidget things and that sort of thing
Thanks.
that, yeah, people want to stay occupied. And so a lot of it becomes about the behavioral aspect. But so do you think it helps to know the science behind it, honestly?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
what
think so,
helped me
too.
with my ADHD.
Okay.
Was understanding like what was actually
What's going
going
on in the
on. I was like, okay, like it clicks it kind of. So
Yeah.
that does help.
Okay.
Whether I can pay attention for long enough though, I don't know.
Do I have any experience with addiction? I don't know who they're necessarily asking, right? How old are you guys? Okay, both of us. This is one of my favorite games. How old am I? Sid?
A ripe 32.
That is incorrect.
Wait, let me actually guess.
Okay. You're 21.
3? 50. Do you know how old you are?
I'm 54. I'm 54.
Oh, that was
You were
so
close.
kind of me
No, you're
to
very
say
close.
53.
No, I appreciate that.
You're
32
welcome.
is even better. And you are
21.
21. Okay.
21.
And then do I have any experience with addiction? I actually want to do some cheesy thing and hold up my book about addiction. But it's, so I wonder if they're asking about you or me.
Well, I do. I
do.
I have a lot of experience.
Yeah. Which, you know what's funny, though? I was talking with a client today. There are a couple of theories out there. One is that everybody is an addict of some sort, and you're trying to find the more socially acceptable or harm-reduced addiction. Because I know that I have been addicted, air quote, to, running. I've been ultra running for 25 years. If I don't run or exercise, I feel like I'm short or fat or bald or a worse husband, father, therapist. It's kind of a trip. Yeah.
And I don't mean to say that that's like
No, it's
less, but it's like I'm addicted to getting
totally.
jacked.
Right. Like when somebody says, I'm a chocoholic, I'm addicted to chocohol.
But that
it's
is an
like,
interesting. So do you think everyone is an addict?
I don't know.
Do you think that's a thing?
And the reason this came up today in therapy was there was a client that was talking about, they just said, oh, when I decide I'm going to stop doing something, I do it. And I thought, tell me more about this. You foreign creature. I think it's really, really interesting. But so I work with a lot of people that, this will be a fun one. And on TikTok, I'm supposed to say corn addiction, cornography, if people are addicted to corn.
Oh, yeah.
Like wink, wink, right? But I have a book called He's a Corn Addict, Now What? An Expert and a Former Addict Answer Your Questions, where I play the role of the expert. And I only say that because it makes me laugh.
Play the role.
I know, right? But this person a guy named Joshua Shea, who had been arrested and for sexual addiction, then got out of jail. He wrote a book, and then he did a series of interviews, and then I had him on my podcast, and apparently we connected. He pitched this book project. And then we took a bunch of questions, and I answered them from the expert side. He answered them from the addict side. Because I think I've helped about 1,500 people with mainly sexual addiction, compulsive sexual behavior, impulse control disorder, because there really isn't a pornography addiction. That isn't like in the diagnostic manual, but there's impulse control disorder and sexual compulsion.
Does it all have to do with like the same place in your brain, regardless
that
of
reward center.
what you're addicted to? So like
we're talking about the dopamine. You and I have some stuff to talk about with dopamine, and so it is the reward center. But where I take it in my book and my practice is that people typically turn to those kind of addictive things as a coping mechanism. So I like to work with clients and say I find a lot of people that I work with turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms when they don't feel a connection in their relationship, in their parenting, in their faith, their career, their health. So instead of like just saying, hey, don't do that, we work on those areas, and then the desire to turn to the unhealthy coping mechanism lessens, if that makes sense. Yeah.
My ADHD took me so far away.
I literally watched it. Like I watched the eyes are the window to the soul, and I feel like they kind of went somewhere else.
I saw someone saying that they're selling serotonin at Erewhon. Is that possible?
I don't know. You can buy some of mine. Here, I've got it right here, $20.
Like, that's not possible, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
And wait, what's the difference between serotonin and dopamine?
So you got all these different neurotransmitters, serotonin and dopamine and norepinephrine and vasopressin and these, and so they all work together to make the brain happy and nice. And so, and it's funny too, because one of the reasons why people, when they take an antidepressant, they'll often gain weight is, so a lot of the antidepressants are these SSRI, serotonin selective reuptake inhibitor. So then your serotonin levels are increased, then your dopamine drops because it's like this little system. So then the quickest way to get dopamine is cookies and chocolate. So we're going to eat that to get the dopamine level up, and then people put on weight when they take an antidepressant. But I am not a psychiatrist, so that is my understanding, which I think is interesting. Okay, so let's get back to here. How old? Oh, that's nice. Stream with your dad. Take supplements to help with withdrawal. I'm a bit of a supplement junkie. So, I mean, and it's funny because you can find data that says supplements are great and that supplements aren't.
What supplements?
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm not familiar or sure which supplements for withdrawal. So I'd love whoever has some thoughts on that for real. Hey, somebody said, wait, that's me. I gained 60 pounds from the antidepressants. It is really interesting, right? They can really help. And let me kind of mention this too when it comes to talking about antidepressants. What is so fascinating is I think sometimes people think that they will make you happy. But really what I find with a lot of clients is they stop you. I had one client once that said it stops him from going all the way into the basement with his thoughts. And the basement is where the scary things were.
Yeah.
So it often flattened or leveled out his mood. But then that came at maybe didn't feel as much of the highs, but didn't feel the lows. And so what's interesting is I have a theory. I call it my emotional baseline theory, where when everything's going great in life, and your baseline of emotions are high, then you make decisions from this place. But then when you get feeling down and a lot of things, life's all over you, then the decisions are still coming from the same place, same decisions, but you're feeling pretty low. And sometimes it's hard to make the decisions. So I feel often that medication can help raise your emotional baseline. And then you can then access the tools you need to make better decisions. Sometimes,
so you're still making the same decisions as you would, but from a higher... Well, I guess it'd be different decisions.
Yeah. But then sometimes what people say is they don't want to be on a medication for their life. And so I have found that a lot of times people are saying that when they feel pretty low. So the decision is up here of, I want to feel better, but then you're like, well, how about medication? And they're saying from here, I don't really feel like it. And if you kind of think of it that way, if it is the thing that can help, then you almost have to take it to raise your emotional baseline to get to this place. And now up here, you can start doing more maybe meditation and mindfulness and connecting with friends socially, and that will raise your baseline even higher.
Yeah, and just because it raises you there doesn't mean that you can't stay there on your own.
That's what I was going to say. So then I think sometimes when I've worked with, and sometimes people say, I don't want to have to rely on medication, but when then they get their baseline high, they're saying, I'm good. Like, why would I not now? But if somebody says, I want to get off medication, well, now they have the tools, and then they might lower their baseline a little bit as they get off the medication, but they're still in this place where they have the tools. And so sometimes that's where they will feel all the feelings a little bit more, and they might realize when they were on the antidepressant, they weren't feeling as much of the highs or lows.
My friend, I think she's on Zoloft, and she told me that it helped her like really embody the like it is what it is concept.
Yeah. Just kind of being and doing, accepting.
Yeah, and just like it's gonna happen, crap's gonna happen.
A ship is gonna happen. Sail.
Ships are gonna sail.
Ships are gonna sail. Exactly. I think so.
Yeah.
Let me get to this place where. Oh, okay. Look at this one. This is. Oh, hi, Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
And then somebody said, I quit nicotine. I honestly feel like the addiction was mostly in my head. I appreciate that because I think it does, a lot of things become more habitual. And so then we just tend to do them. The brain does a really cool thing. It's called the relational frame theory. And this is one of those concepts where so the theory here is that every animal out there, they see something and they immediately react. I'm going to kill that. I'm going to run away from that. I'm going to, whatever. And then we have two hemispheres of our brain. So then we see things and we put them in a relational frame. So then it's like we do a thing and then we feel a thing. And so then we think that they go together. And over time, our brain says, when I smoke, I do something with my hands. So if they stop smoking, they're like, what am I doing with my hands? That part can be really difficult. And so sometimes you have to be aware of that behavioral change as well. And
now I feel like I have to do something with my hands.
Do you?
Now that you said
okay, I can get you a fidget cube or something like that. I can do that.
It's fine.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. Okay, I loved your Reddit podcast. Please do another one. Do you have Reddit stories today?
Oh yeah, we have Reddit stories.
Okay.
We can always do those.
Yeah. Let me do this. So Sid and I were looking at healthy ways to get dopamine. And how old do I sound if I say we're going to react to this article?
That's normal.
Is it?
People still react to stuff.
Okay. Yeah, all right. We're reacting to this article then.
I don't know about articles.
We're reacting. From this online computer magazine. How about that?
Perfect.
Okay, I want your take. 10 natural ways to raise your dopamine, because we were talking about when people have more of a dopamine deficiency, and then what we were saying. What's one of your favorite ways to get dopamine?
Smoking?
No. You mentioned the telephone device.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Like TikTok?
I mean, not your favorite. Yeah, I was kind of
Yeah,
joking
I
about
don't.
that.
I try to stay off TikTok because it makes me feel weird.
Even though we're on
after a while.
TikTok, welcome TikTok audience.
Stay. Don't listen.
but it's funny because the algorithm is pretty fascinating, because there's a book called Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits. James Clear, and he talks about that the dopamine dump is in the anticipation.
Oh, I heard that the other day. That's so weird. I feel that actually.
Do you?
It's like in me searching for my dome.
Yeah. You've mentioned the dome, and I think I'm supposed to know what that means.
It's like vape.
Oh.
Like.
Okay. I think this is my dome.
I literally don't know how to describe it to you.
Okay. Where were we?
Like nicotine device.
Oh, okay. A dome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I am learning.
You're learning.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So is that not used like as a head anymore? Like my dome?
No, that's still a dome.
Okay.
So I don't really know.
Okay.
I'll try to think about this dome, not the other domes.
Okay. Where were we? Dopamine. Oh, so the anticipation, which is really interesting because, gosh, I just want to talk about so many different things. Back to the people when they are scrolling a phone, that then the anticipation of what's next is often what then drives the release of dopamine.
It's not actually the moment that you're in,
no.
which is so messed up if you think about it. Because, like, all of life, I feel like we're chasing that next moment instead of just enjoying the now.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but sometimes if I'm listening to an audiobook, notice I don't read them, but if I'm listening or watching a movie and you're anticipating so much about what's going to happen, and then when you almost see that, oh, I think I know what's going to happen, I don't even sometimes want to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
You ever had that?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I watch Love Island, I don't watch the last episode. And that's when you find out who wins.
Okay.
But I just don't care because
it's like, it's okay, whatever.
Like, the build-up, the drama, the whole way there is so much better.
Yeah. So natural ways to raise your dopamine level. Do you want to read the first one?
Eat lots of protein?
What do you think about that? I feel like protein, I just hear often, protein. I need more protein. Protein is a good thing.
I don't know, I guess.
Not any real strong opinions?
No. I mean,
I
what
don't
does
know
that mean?
enough
Like,
about
I eat a slab of meat and I'm, like, happy
Well,
as
okay, it
hell?
talks about, because amino acids, an amino acid called tyrosine has a critical role in producing dopamine, and you get it from foods such as turkey, beef, eggs, dairy, soy, and legumes. Do you know what a legume is?
Bean?
It's kind of like a bean, yeah. But, okay, let's get to the better one. Eat less saturated fat, boring. I mean, I guess we probably shouldn't eat more fat, but consume probiotics. Is that a thing for you?
No.
Do you know what that is?
Is that like yogurt?
Yeah.
I
This is
yogurt.
this is the next frontier in the world of mental health is the gut biome, and because the studies show that a large quantity of probiotic bacteria can reduce anxiety and depression symptoms. Because a lot of your serotonin and those sort of things are created. I mean, it's happening in your gut, which is pretty wild.
Yeah. I thought it was in your brain.
There's a highway, a fast track from your gut to your brain. But then even here it says more research is needed to better understand the effects of probiotics.
What is the highway? Like your veins? Or like...
I mean, all the things in your body. Eat velvet beans. Have you ever heard of that?
What is a velvet bean?
I do not know. Velvet beans, also known as Mucuna purinalis, contain natural levels of L-dopa, the precursor molecule to dopamine. I don't really know what they are. Yeah, I don't know. Exercise often.
That makes me angry.
Why?
I'm not an exerciser.
Okay.
I don't have that gene. You didn't pass it.
Do you not exercise because I obsessively exercise? Is it life reactance to your dad?
I don't know what it is. I found it's easiest for me to exercise when I can't count while I'm exercising. Does that make sense? Like, I can't be like, I'm going to do 10 sit-ups.
Okay.
Because by, like, the 5th, I'm, like...
We're focused on the counting?
I was about to say something really dark, but I just really want to not be there anymore, okay?
Oh, okay. Wow.
But when I just, like, sit there and just work out and just, like, don't count and I just, like, whatever I do, I'm going to do and I don't put a goal on the end of it, then, like, I feel like I like it.
Yeah. So what would stop you from just doing that in general?
I don't know. Just...
Okay, have you heard of things like intuitive eating or things like that, or intuitive sleeping where you eat what you want to eat, how much of it?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a movement on things like intuitive exercise, where you just go
Yeah.
run until you're done, and then you do as many sit-ups as you do.
I think that's what I like to do.
Okay, or that, which would be really smart. That would. What's funny is, so then I really enjoy running, and I probably obsessively do it at times. But it's funny when you're saying you can't count, because when I've done like a couple 100-mile races, and when you're doing those, all I'm doing is counting how many miles to the next aid station, how many calories have I taken in, how many calories to the next aid station. And to me, it's
Therapeutic?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, not for me,
Okay,
no.
kind of funny. Okay, this next one, I want to know your opinion. Natural ways to increase dopamine: get enough sleep.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know. Do you sleep well?
No.
I don't either. And so this one's...
I'm terrible at sleeping.
What if we find out that it's because your mother snores loud subconsciously?
It's because you snore loud. Just kidding.
How dare you? Okay, what state are we in? We're in California.
Yes, we are.
We are. Okay, we'll get to hear some more. So I got distracted.
Do you want to do questions, or I could pull out a Reddit story?
Well, here, we got 3 more of these. I'm very curious. Listen to music. Listening to music can be a way to stimulate dopamine release in your brain. Several studies on humans and animals have found that listening to music can boost dopamine levels in the brain.
I could actually see that one helping.
Where I go with this, which I think is really funny, is studies on humans and animals have found listening to music can boost dopamine levels. So what do you think? They got like a hedgehog, like with some headphones on?
They just saw if he was into it or not.
Yeah.
Saw if he was throwing it back.
Okay, meditate. I cannot talk about this enough. As a matter of fact, hey, there's our first subscribers. If people subscribe to the channel, I've got a couple of meditation tracks that I've recorded.
Yeah.
Have you listened to it yet,
Sean
truthfully?
and Tony, yes, I have.
You did?
Uh-huh.
What'd you think?
And didn't we read over one of them last time?
Yeah,
too?
I did some of the script. Yeah.
I thought you were good at it. You're a natural shaman.
Shaman. I did. I put it out in one of the private groups that I run online, and they said that I could probably have slowed things down a little bit.
Oh, well, we were talking about that. Remember, like, doesn't ADHD make your brain, like, sometimes I feel like my brain moves faster than my mouth, and I can't even speak English.
Yeah. So it's funny because I thought I was talking real slow.
I think there's a way to turn that back on your phone while you're listening to it.
Somebody said they did it at 0.75, and that helped a lot. But again, for anyone here that when they hear meditation, because for years as a therapist even, I would say, breathe and meditate and that sort of thing. And I didn't even know what I didn't know, which I think is such an important concept when we don't know what we don't know. So if right now you're saying, I don't think I agree with meditation, but you haven't really given that a shot, then that is a very easy way to get rid of that discomfort of not wanting to meditate. So when you start to lean into the you don't know what you don't know, it can be really, really beneficial. Yeah.
We should make this a thing. It probably already is a thing. But intuitive, like, meditation. Because that also helped me with meditating a lot. Is like I would sit down in like the early stages of my meditation, and I would try to meditate for like a 20-minute timer, and I could never do it.
Yeah, okay. I like where you're going with that.
But like for me, it would really help if I'm like, I don't care if I meditate for 15 seconds today.
Yes.
If I'm going to do it at all.
Yeah.
And then like you'll find yourself just falling into it for longer and longer and not even realizing that you're in the realm of time, you know? Like it's cool.
That is wise. Namaste. That is, you are the shaman now. And that kind of goes back to when we were talking about the goals, like New Year's resolutions at the beginning. So here's where what I didn't get to then that I think you just nailed is the best way to follow through on something, or I think to have success, is to then you work on a value, so not a goal. And I'll give you the example it's funny. Every year I get the same guy who then says, I'm going to read 12 books this year. That's his New Year's resolution. He's going to read 12. So then he hits about April or May. He has not started yet. And so then at that point, that's where he's like, you know what? I didn't really want to do that anyway. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to do it next year. But then if you have a value of knowledge, and a value then it's about doing or becoming. You don't hit you don't end with your value.
I like that.
Right? So then if you have a value of knowledge, then reading is the vehicle. And then I'm going to read every day. So kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah, instead of attaching such like a solid goal and something that seems so unobtainable in the moment.
Yeah.
If you just make your goal like simply like a different way of being every day when you wake up.
Being and doing. Yep.
Like just like baby steps.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we are like in our heads, it's like, oh, the bigger the goal you have, the better the person you're going to be that year.
Yeah.
But that's not true. We can't, personally, can't do that.
Yeah.
But when you just think day to day, what are like the baby steps I can do to make myself a better person? I feel like over time,
Yes. So then if I say, okay, I love it, because if I say I'm going to meditate each day, my brain's still going to say, well, how long? I'm like, I don't know.
I do not know and I do not care.
Yeah. And then I'm with you where there's an acceptance that I may not meditate more than a minute or two, but then the reality is once you start to do it more, then it becomes part of your implicit memory, or what it feels like to be you, which is the slow residue of your lived experience, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like that guy that was doing the reading, then what that would look like, he would read every day, and then the brain's going to say, well, how much? And it's like, I don't know, that's not a productive thought toward my value-based goal of knowledge, that sort of thing. Or if I want to exercise every day, then, and I do this here, push-ups are the vehicle.
And
right?
then you know what you're doing? You're removing the guilt from it. And instead you're just leaving the ability to do better and move forward.
Yeah.
Like there's no, oh, I didn't read today. Like I'm a terrible person. I lost my goal. Everything's over. It's just like, that is what it is. Whatever. Next day, maybe I will read. And then,
Yeah, for
you know.
sure. Yeah, and that's a good point too, because by now, if people have already stopped on their New Year's resolutions, number one, I would check in and say, was it something of value to you, or was it something you feel like you should do? And this is, again, it goes back to, if I have a goal to lose 15 pounds, then somebody can just starve themselves, get the 15 pounds and say check, and then what? But if the value is to eat better, then they can do that a little bit each day, and they can achieve that. That's more of a value-based goal, which is a good
And
thing.
then you don't come out of the goal hungry and sad. You come out of it like you feel mentally like you're in a happier place in your brain.
Yes.
And I like that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That is. Okay. Oh, we almost finished that. Okay, and also, last thing, anytime I talk about meditation, I want to say that if right now, if any of you have said, yeah, I can't do it, I can't stop my thoughts, then you are a normal human being. Because the goal of meditation is not to stop thought, but it is to be able to change your relationship
Nothing
with your
has
thought.
ever stopped in here.
I know, right?
Ever.
Oh, I mean, really? Tell me more.
No, there is no moment of peace.
Okay, which is okay.
Yeah, no, it is okay. That's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
don't think that's what meditation is,
It's not.
right?
No. So if you've never done this, a good meditative practice, it really is, it's like you're getting a good old breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth kind of a vibe. That's going to lower your heart rate, lowers your cortisol level, lets you be a little more present. And then your brain's just going to do and be and think. And then probably some sort of whatever you're doing, guided meditation is going to suggest you come back to listen what's going on in the room. And now you're listening and not ruminating or thinking. But then as soon as you stop doing that, then you might be thinking again. And then you come back and it's, what am I smelling? What am I feeling? What am I hearing? And so you're just, it's a practice of coming back to the present moment. And then eventually your brain gets pretty good about, oh, this is what we do. So when your heart rate starts to elevate, you start to get anxious, then your brain's already like getting you ready to then, oh, I know what this person's going to do. They're going to come back to the present. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Beautiful.
But thank you very much.
Well done, Shaman Tony.
Namaste. Okay, two more. Get enough sunlight. Low sunshine exposure can lead to reduced levels of mood-boosting neurotransmitters. I tuned out halfway while I'm reading that one sentence because I got something today. Have you seen a therapy lamp? Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, this is funny. So it's by Brain MD. It's the Amen Clinic. But when you plug it in, okay, the science of it.
The science
Okay,
of
but
it.
this is okay. Prepare though. This is. So there was a client in here with me today, and so we both did this. We were looking at it, and then I'm gonna point this. It's so
What are you
bright.
doing
Ready?
right now?
Watch. Okay.
Whoa.
Okay, look at that.
Look at that science, ladies and
Okay, look,
gentlemen.
but so you're supposed to just leave it. Oh, see, I looked at it. But
Was
you're
that supposed to give me dopamine?
Yeah, it does.
What? Turn it back on. I wasn't paying attention.
But you're supposed to leave it right out of view, and you start with 5 or 10 minutes a day, and it's right in the peripheral. But I'm like, did you ever see Bug's Life when you were a kid? There's a one where they say they're like flying, the little bugs are flying toward the bug zapper, and he's like, I can't stop. It's
Is
so
that what
beautiful.
it is?
No, you're not supposed to look at it. But like right now, I couldn't help but just look into it. I don't think that was part of the problem.
Wait, you're gonna need to explain one more time what that was.
Okay, what the
because
light
you
was?
just go the
Okay.
science of this light, and then you just turned it on and put it away.
Maybe I was making all the sense in the world, and you weren't paying attention.
That's most likely what
Okay,
happens.
so I will read this. This is saying this is what light therapy does.
Light therapy.
Light therapy. Okay. Here we go. Ready? There. Okay. Therapy light. Okay. Known for their effectiveness in helping to alleviate winter blues or seasonal affective disorder, light therapy lamps have been shown in research to help with focus, mood, energy, and to promote healthier sleep. How about that?
So, is it the same thing as the sunlight, or is it different?
I do not know. I really don't. And you know, this is what's fun too, is let that be a lesson. It's okay to say I don't know.
That's
Right.
kind of cute though that humans like just get happier when they're in the sun.
Yeah.
Like that's a precious
But I
sentiment.
thought I saw something that did talk about the different neurotransmitters and what it does. But the therapy lamp, I've always been really curious about this.
I saw this old guy on
How old
this
though?
thing.
How old is old for real?
I don't know how old he was. Maybe like 60.
Okay.
And he's trying to live forever.
Oh.
And he would stare every morning. He stares into a light. And that's all I have on that.
Oh, okay.
But there's something there, you guys.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still kicking. He's still kicking.
Okay, and then the last thing about dopamine is it says consider supplements. Your body needs several vitamins and minerals to create dopamine, including iron, folate, and vitamin B6. So if you have a deficiency in one of these nutrients, and there's other words after that. Okay. Where do you want to go next? So let's look at questions. Okay. Oh, okay. I want to know this one. How does your daughter feel about growing up with a parent as a therapist?
I love it. I think it's...
You don't have to say that.
No, I think it's good. I mean, obviously we've had our ups and downs, but I don't think
Have we?
that was related to you being a therapist.
Yeah.
That
Did
was
you
just
know that I
life.
was? I didn't even know what my dad did when I was in high school.
I think I knew. I don't know. High school's very foggy for me.
Okay. Yeah.
High school was interesting.
And okay, but I want your honest, you will give me your honest opinion. But I think you edit the TikTok videos, and did you know, like if I was saying stuff before, would you pay much attention to it? Therapy stuff before you started editing the videos, truthfully?
Are you trying to milk a compliment out of me?
No, I'm really not. But I'm kind of thinking, so, okay, well, okay, I'm glad you asked that way, because I really feel like there's a concept, and I'm a couples therapist, and a lot of times, let's just say it's a husband and wife, and I'll say something, and then the wife will say, oh my gosh, that makes sense, and the husband will say, I've said that like a dozen times.
Oh, no, I know what you're saying.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
because you're my father, I feel like I wouldn't listen to a lot of
Right.
the things you would say.
Even if I'm saying the right stuff.
Yes,
Okay.
and my mom. I was really defiant growing up.
Really?
Like like for some reason, if someone told me something to do, I immediately would want to do the opposite. And I find that for myself in my own life too. Like if I say I'm gonna do something, I almost don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's really weird. I don't know what it is.
Okay, now that answers my
But-
question. Okay, go ahead.
Editing your videos.
Yeah.
And like seeing your work from an outsider's perspective and not from as your daughter, from like an editor, I totally am so grateful for it. And I feel like I have had hours of free therapy. I'm serious though.
Yeah. No,
Like,
I appreciate that.
I really do feel like it has been a good thing. And I wouldn't know so many things if you weren't my dad. Like dopamine, serotonin,
Okay, but you know what's funny though?
psychologist. These are all really basic.
Those are words.
But I know how they work in your brain and
Yeah.
stuff, and I wouldn't know that
Okay,
otherwise.
what's
so I
really funny though,
appreciate you.
can I make fun of you now though?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, but I really appreciate that. I was going to say, when you were saying, hell, it's this weird thing about where when somebody tells me what to do and I don't want to do it. And do you know what that one is called?
No.
Okay, so you edited the video. I'm just kidding. I mean, you have, but it's like, how would you...
I don't choose what stays in here.
You know, and honestly, I appreciate this so much because there was a part of me for a while that when I would say something about 900 times around the house, I would think, everybody must understand this, but it's me. It's a me thing. But psychological reactance. Do you remember that one? It's the instant negative reaction of being told what to do. It's a built-in defense mechanism, and it's why when you say to yourself, don't think about an apple, I just thought of an apple. And if
Yeah.
I say, don't think about a blue apple, now I just thought about a blue apple. And if somebody says to you, do you know what you should do? Typically I'm thinking, I will not be doing that. Even if it's what's good for me. I could find that somebody could say, you know what you need to do is you need to be able to budget and save your money. And in my mind, my immature part of me wants to say, oh, I just read a study that says that the best thing you can do is to blow your money and not have a budget. We naturally go to this place of defensiveness.
Yeah. And why is that? Why? Do I just want to put myself above that person for a second?
it's good,
like, why
good.
do
So
we do that?
the theory with
I don't get
psychological reactance is that it's there as a defense mechanism. So you will not get dominated by, I remember the first time I ever read about it, it said an alpha male or a corrupt society. So it is an inherent
Alpha male
I know,
makes
right?
me laugh.
I know, that's why I thought it was kind of funny. But one of the craziest studies on this that was done, and honestly, sometimes I think maybe I've created this narrative a little bit, but I remember reading something about it being done in a court system. But this is why I think, I don't know if this is real because we're talking about people's lives here. But the theory was that if an attorney gets something slips out and then the judge says, strike that from the record. And then he'll say to the jury, don't use that when you make your decision. Then it was like 70% of juries use that information, you know. And so there was a thought that some clever defense attorneys or attorneys in general will make sure that something gets in there that isn't supposed to. So the judge will say, oh, don't remember that when it comes time to. And then the people are like, oh, I will be remembering that.
So then they look extra faulty too at that point.
Yeah, so it's such a trip. So that all stemmed from I will have couples in my office, and if somebody then says something, and then if I say, yeah, you know, here's what I think, and then one of the people says, I've been saying that forever, it's because even in a healthy relationship, it's almost like we have this natural defense mechanism built in that I don't know if I can completely trust that person, that they aren't trying to manipulate me or that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I think one of the best things you can do is be curious. So ask questions, be curious about things. Instead of me saying, you know what you need to do, it would be, hey, have you ever thought about, or what would it look like if, or what are your thoughts about? And then whatever it is, because now you're leaning in a little bit more.
Okay.
And one of the things I find along these similar lines is people often do all or nothing or absolute. He always does this, or she never does this. And so it's funny to sit from my chair right there and watch a couple on the couch. And if let's just say the one person says, and you know what, and he never helps with the kids, then he's not sitting there going, oh my gosh, that would be hard if she feels like he's immediately thinking, I help with the kids during the summer.
Oh, last month when
exactly, right?
And it's like you are kind of pulling that out of that person. Not that it's right that that's their defense mechanism, but I feel like
but even
Justin Bieber, never say never, baby. Like, come on.
And that is the lesson that we wanted to get to.
You are kind of predicting the future and establishing all of the past in that moment, though. And it's like, do you really have the power to do that unless that's how you want that person to stay forever?
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
But
I like
also,
the Justin Bieber pull.
Yeah, I don't even.
But so
know
then,
what I just said,
oh no,
honestly.
it was good, but because I like that too. So if somebody says, you know, I don't feel like they help with the kids very often, then you almost watch the person's more, okay, they're willing to hear that. Or if I watch somebody say, and it's been 5 months since he said I love you, then he's sitting there, he's not going, oh my gosh, he's sitting there going, May, June, July. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, maybe okay. You know.
Communication is so weird.
Yeah.
It's like you have to get it perfectly on both sides to get like a product, or else it just goes backwards, you know? I mean, the scale gets unbalanced and then someone's defending someone else.
That is for real. And that's where I like saying we go into relationships and we're all pretty emotionally immature and we don't know what we don't know. Everybody is.
Yeah.
Everybody is. And so you really have to work hard to step outside of your own ego or your own self to be able to hear somebody else's experience and not go, well, yeah, but you know, and that takes a lot of work to do that. I saw a couple people that I thought was really cool. Somebody said, shout out to the Overbay Jeans. That's nice. From Sawyer, Mitch's friend. Hello to Alex's dad. Sawyer, what's up? There's another one. Oh, trust. Okay, we sell freeze-dried candy. I didn't see that one coming. Alan remembers me running around a track for 24 hours. Thank you, Alan. Let's see. How do you communicate? Here's one. I saw one. How do you meditate with ADHD? And I appreciate that. How do you?
I think that's like what we said before. It's like I can't expect anything out of a meditation session. Like, I have to go into it with no attachments. And if I get distracted and if I'm downstairs making a coffee and I don't even know how I got there, that's okay.
It is acceptance,
but like,
right?
I really just, for me, and you were the one who told me this, it was just trying to do it every day. And I still don't do it every day. I didn't do it yesterday, but I did do it today.
Did you? Nice.
Yeah, and it's like just trying to do it for a little bit every day. I swear you will feel the effects of it after a couple weeks, and it's really cool.
You do. Okay, and so we'll stay on this too for a minute. Oh, I didn't even answer it, but your answer was perfect. So how do you meditate? It really is, it's a consistent practice, and that can be frustrating. But remember that the goal is not to stop the mind. The goal is to just do, and then eventually I really joke in my own brain where your brain eventually says, fine, he's going to do it.
Literally.
Yeah, right. It's like, go ahead, do your little meditation thing.
And it's never when I sat down and I'm like, I'm going to meditate for 30 minutes. Yeah. Like, it's never that. It's when I just, like, kind of have found myself there naturally throughout the day. And
then somebody else said, I've tried meditation, but I can't quiet my mind enough for it to be effective. So again, I hear you. And remember, the goal isn't to quiet the mind. It's to change your relationship with thought. It's to be able to sit there on the side of the road and watch your thoughts as cars just go by. And then every now and again, remember that there's a little video on the Headspace app that has this?
I think about that all the time.
Yeah, it's a great, maybe I was going to say, we'll have to link it in the show notes. But if you can go find Headspace and then go on, I feel like I should say TikTok, right? Maybe they have it on here. I'd say YouTube. I don't know if I can say.
We could just describe it.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
you go.
it's the idea of like looking at your thoughts as like cars on a highway, and you're just sitting on a little hill next to the highway. It's like nothing you do is gonna stop the cars from coming down the highway, but like you can just kind of be an observer.
And then every now and again, you remember what it says? Every now and again, you might feel a little bit anxious and you want to go stop the traffic or chase after a car. And then when you notice that you're doing that, then you kind of give yourself a little bit of grace and you just head back to the side of the road, perfectly at peace, watching the cars go by.
I like to see it like I'm on my own little island, and like all of my thoughts are just like the water like rushing by, and nothing matters.
Hey, Moose 42212 just got a number 2 gifter badge. So I don't
Thanks,
even know what that
Moose.
means, but that sounds amazing. For real. And I'm serious. I really appreciate that. Okay, there's a couple things here that I really like to. How do you learn how to communicate better in a relationship without feeling like a burden? That's a great.
If
I'd
you
love your
feel like a
thoughts.
burden in a relationship, I just immediately there's something wrong, and I don't think it's you.
Okay. I think Sydney's onto something there, and I think this is one of those difficult things where back to the one where we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what a healthy relationship even looks like or feels like, and I find it difficult sometimes to try to help somebody know that if you feel like a burden. First of all, I think it's fair to be able to try to express yourself, and if your partner is curious or has empathy or says, "Oh my gosh, tell me more," then that would be something that you can work from. But if they say, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it, then it's really difficult, because at that point, the more that you are trying to not be a burden, the more you're showing up anxious that, okay, am I being a burden? Am I not being a burden? Or how are they viewing this? And what you're not doing is being and doing. You're not being yourself in that
Yeah,
moment.
and your partner should be there for you in those moments, and they shouldn't have an answer for you all the time. They should just be there to listen and comfort
Yeah.
you, and
Yeah, that one's kind of
like you
tough.
deserve to feel that. You don't deserve to feel like a burden.
Yeah. Let me talk about, I would highly encourage, if anyone would like to, I have a couple podcasts. One's called The Virtual Couch, but another one's called Waking Up to Narcissism. And I released an episode today, and it's literally about this. And this is a really interesting topic. So I have a private women's Facebook group for women who are in relationships with narcissistic people or individuals or entities or family members. And so in the group, someone mentioned a new book called Rethinking Narcissism, The Secret to Recognizing and Coping with Narcissists. And I did an episode on a particular part of this book, and I haven't read the book, so and the author is very, very well known, and I've read some of his work, and it's really good. So I'm just saying, I'm taking ownership that I'm just picking on one part of it. But in the book, and this is what the people brought up in the group, he has a part that says the only way to reach them, talking about narcissists, the sentence says the only way to reach them very often is to clearly and explicitly describe the emotional impact that they're having on you. And the people in the group were saying, okay, that never works. And so then I took that on. And so in the world of narcissism or emotional immaturity, I've got 5 rules of interacting with the emotionally immature or narcissistic person. So please poke holes in any of these. So that first one is raising your emotional baseline, what we talked about earlier. Get your self-care is not selfish. You need to be in the best place you can if you are going to show up as your best self in a relationship, whether it's a healthy relationship, unhealthy relationship. The second thing, as I say, get your PhD in gaslighting. Are you familiar with gaslighting? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just by reading about it, right?
Yeah, and it's just last night actually. Just kidding.
So, yeah. So if you're not familiar with gaslighting, I've got a couple episodes there. And I mean, it really is, it's crazy making, or when you are just expressing yourself and somebody is making you feel like you are just insane. And it can be, I don't know, can you think of a good example right out of the gate?
I zoned out on my hair. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was really bad timing.
No, it's okay. And then but the third thing is get out of unproductive conversations, because I think when you start to raise your emotional baseline and recognize that, okay, you know what, I am okay. I am of worth. I deserve to be heard, understood. My thoughts and feelings are valid. Then I'm feeling pretty good. Then if I'm expressing myself and somebody says, I never said that. That's I can't believe you're saying that. Now we're like, what? You did say that. I mean, I'm confident you did. Here comes the gaslighting. So then I realize, this conversation is going south pretty fast. And so then that third thing is get out of unproductive conversations, because the longer you are in them and the more you're trying to make sense of the nonsense, the crazier you're going to feel.
And I feel like when you're in an unproductive conversation with a narcissist, it's not about the productivity of the conversation anymore. It's
No.
to them it's like a chemical imbalance or whatever, and they like need to get ahead over
Ooh,
you.
let's talk about that. That was
Right?
very
I don't know,
it's
but-
very well said. And we'll jump around a little bit here, and we'll get back to these rules because I love what you said. So if you really look at what narcissism or emotional immaturity is, it is a childhood wounding where the person they operate from a place called the false self, and they lack empathy, and so they need another individual to interact with, basically to know they exist. As odd as that is. So it's like they need you to interact with them so they can tell you you're wrong, that's crazy, I'm better. And it's to put them up in the one-up position. And so then when you're trying to have a conversation, and it's so interesting because this is a lot of the population I work with, but people will feel like it doesn't matter what I say, I'm told I'm wrong. And I often find that is the case.
And that's why I feel like, I don't want to say it's toxic, but it's like, it is a little troubling to see it written in that way. The only way to reach them is to describe the emotional impact they have on you. Because I feel like, I mean, and I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a lot of narcissists aren't, the problem is that their brain isn't exactly wired in the way which they can understand the emotional impact that you're having on them, right? Like, isn't that kind of the problem?
So it's interesting because if you get to basically narcissistic personality disorder, 3 or 4% of the population, emotionally immature, all of us, until we get the tools or learn to become more emotionally mature. So a big part of that is what do we do with our discomfort? So when somebody was young and they never saw their parents model ownership or take an accountability of anything, or if they got in a lot of trouble, if they said, okay, I did something. So then what are they going to do? Well, I'm not going to say I did anything again. I'm not going to take ownership of anything. I haven't seen my parents do it. And that's the last thing I'm going to do if I'm going to get in trouble for it. Because if I get in trouble, then, to a little kid, I'm going to get booted out of the house and I'm going to be abandoned. So then it's like, oh, they've learned I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. You made me do it. I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't have done the thing. And so then it really becomes about what do they do to get rid of their discomfort? And we are wired to avoid discomfort altogether. And it is uncomfortable to say, I am so sorry, my bad. But it's not as scary as it sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot
Is
the
it
question.
that scary for the narcissist?
Well,
though?
Is
it even a
it's not a
place
thing.
in their brain where they
No.
can enter
No,
that door?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're not. And that's that part where we talk often. I'm so fascinated by this concept called confabulation. And confabulation is we all kind of confabulate or change the narrative.
This scares me. I'm like, I don't even know what life I have lived or if
I know,
I've just
right?
made it up in my head.
Yeah, so the good example of this one is I have a client that they would text me if they were going to be late, and they would say, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. And I would hilariously, then if they came in 6 minutes late, I'm like, you're late. And if they came in 4 minutes late, then I would say, you're early late. Ha ha ha. I noticed they didn't usually laugh, but I thought it was hilarious. So there was a time
Those
where
are the best kind of jokes.
right? So they sent a text and they said, I'm going to be 5 minutes late. And I say, whatever. And I sit here on my desk and the person comes in and I look and I think they were 4 minutes late. So I said something like, you're early late. And they said something else. And then he said I was going to be 10 minutes late. And I said, no, you said 5 minutes late. And I swear, you edited this. We have the screenshot of it on one of the TikToks. And then I open up my phone and he just said, I'm going to be a little late. So he didn't say 5 minutes that I thought he said, and he didn't say 10 minutes that the guy thought he said. But I in my mind, I would have taken a polygraph and sworn, that it said 5 minutes.
Kind of crazy that your brain literally created a new word, like a new image of the text.
It did.
It's powerful, and that was like within like 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what else is our brain switching up?
All kinds of crazy stuff. It's so the mechanisms of memory. So when you think of something, your brain doesn't just file it away in its entirety. It files away like a snapshot of the moment. And then when you recall the memory, then it fills in all the things that you had going on at that time. I know I use this example a lot, but I really like it. It's when we all went to Disneyland like last Christmas. And so I think back on that and I think of we had all the churros and the Airbnb was pretty cool and the Star Wars ride was fun and all that stuff. So every time I think about it, I bring that memory back up, and it was a great time. But we also, everybody like scratched their car going in the driveway of that Airbnb, and a churro was like $8, and I bought a lot of them. So then you could also bring up that memory and go, oh yeah, that trip where the churros were like super expensive, and we scratched our car every time. And then when you put that memory away, that memory for you would be confabulated as negative, and mine was like, wait, no, that was the one where we got the little bottles of Diet Coke that were in a circle. And we played the game of charades in the line.
So
it was awesome.
Is there a way to make your brain like, is there a way to denote to that
Yeah.
positive side
Yes.
more often than the negative side? And how do you control that? And is that something you have to do like over time?
Yes, 100%. It's such a good question. And it goes back to even why we talk so much about mindfulness and meditation tonight, because you have to be able to be aware, to be able to change that relationship with thought. And so be able to stop in the moment and notice. And I will often say, like, create your own relational frame. If you're having a moment and it's a good one, then if you do it, like, square off your shoulders, breathe in.
Shaman Tony's going on.
Yeah. And then, notice. I was speaking at this place a few weeks ago, and it was a really nice day, and the room was nice, and the sun was shining. And I this is stuff where I do feel like I can't believe I'm this kind of a hippie guy sometimes. But I said, if you resonate with anything today, I want you to stop for a minute. I want you to, like, look at the people beside you and just take a breath in and feel the sunshine on and create this moment that then when you pack it away, you're like, oh, I remember that day.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it was a crummy day, but one of the challenges is that our brain defaults to negative because it's still this our caveman or Neanderthal brain where our brain says, well, if I'm not worried about stuff, then something bad's going to happen.
So we're constantly fighting against that default
it's
to
like,
try to be happy,
totally,
basically.
yeah. And there's the book Buddha Brain, which I love, says that the brain is like Teflon for the positive and Velcro for the negative. And I think that's so right. So
Define Teflon.
Teflon is the non-stick surface on things like, that you still leave.
Well, and you're right. It's doing that because it's trying to protect you, right? Because it's like, if I remember this, then I can protect myself from it if it ever happens again.
Right, yeah. And so that's why like even when you look at the concepts like anxiety, for example, it means well. Because anxiety is there to say,
She means well.
we better be
hate
careful, right? But then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we better be careful. What do we be careful about? We got to be careful about everything, and then even though most of the things aren't going to happen that we're worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were about to, what were we talking about? Confabulation?
I don't know, but I feel like we just had a good conversation right there.
Did we?
I don't even, like, my ADHD is so bad, I do not know what we just talked about.
Yeah. Hey, so glad I came across your account.
Whoa.
Psychotherapist in Georgia. Man, I'd love that stuff. The more the merrier, too. So please reach out to me because it would be fun to have people. Okay, can women be narcissistic or just men? That is a great question. And
Everyone can be
Yeah, everybody can. Everybody's a narcissist. But I'm glad you asked that.
Anyone, you can be a narcissist.
You can be a narcissist. But there is a study, more men than women. So my podcast, Waking Up to Narcissism, I typically say, the guy, the girl, all that stuff. So I'm trying to do a better job of that. But there's like a long-term study out of, I think it's University of Buffalo or something. And it's 40,000 people, and it is...
So is the stat that there's more men than women, or is it? What is it?
Yeah.
So that's what I do. Because you get that comment all the time. It's like,
I do.
why?
Oh, yeah, you see it, huh?
Why do you always use the man as the narcissist? And I hope people know that we actually do try to switch it all the time.
For real, yeah.
But there is something to be said about, babe, look up the stats.
Okay, right here, right? And so it's funny because I will say, man, I hear you, but here it is. In 2015, a number of media outlets reported a study at the University of Buffalo which analyzed 31 years of data of narcissism research and concluded that men consistently scored higher in the first two of three aspects of narcissistic personality inventory: leadership, authority, exploitative entitlement, and grandiose exhibitionism. And so that alone is a really, really fascinating... Oh, here it is.
Wait, I have a thought also. I do think that there's like something to be said about if you say that like a lot more men are narcissists or whatever. I don't think that's to say that men are inherently more narcissistic. I think that has a lot to say about the society that we've created for men, how we've taught them, like how we haven't taught them how to control their emotions. And that's just like kind of what we've created for ourselves. I don't know. And obviously it's so situational. Yeah. Because everyone has a different mom and a different dad, or no mom and no dad. But I just feel like there is something. Yeah. I feel like there's something to be said with that. It's like, when you look at something like, oh, men are better or women are better, it's just silly to look at anything like that at all.
Okay, do you know how smart you are? I will validate you. I will validate you so much right here because I love what you said, because this says research has shown that personality differences like narcissism can arise from gender stereotypes and expectations that have been ingrained over time. The authors speculate that the persistent lack of women in senior leadership roles may partially stem from the disparity between stereotypes of femininity and leadership. Individuals tend to observe and learn gender roles from a young age and may face backlash for deviating from society's expectations. In particular, women often receive harsh criticism for being aggressive or authoritative which creates pressure for women more so than for men to suppress
And men are
displays
taught
of narcissistic
to
behavior.
be aggressive and authoritative. And then it's like when they don't know how to handle their emotions, we get upset with them. But it's like
They lash out.
we've created that
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. And
It
so
doesn't always have to be like that.
Well,
obviously.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that, even though there is, I mean, and that's where I want to lightheartedly joke that, so this is only 3 decades of data, almost 500,000 participants, and then over 355 journal articles, dissertations, manuscripts, and technical manuals, to then say that it's far more men than women. So, I mean, the data is there, but I think that isn't saying anything like, see, so it's all men. Yeah.
And focusing on that at all, period, is just a waste of time.
That-
Like, let's talk about just not being terrible people.
Yeah.
Who cares if you're a boy or girl?
That's right. Hey, another one, I really like this question. I've been told I was gaslighting when I express emotions different from my girlfriend's emotions. Thoughts? That's a great point. And there's actually, I did an episode at one point on the different types of gaslighting, because if you're just looking at by definition, sometimes people gaslight because they really are trying to protect someone's emotions. It's coming from an adorable, loving place. But then other times it's to get rid of discomfort. Other times it's to take that one-up position. And also, it can just be a button that somebody pushes to get somebody to react. So it can also be, you're gaslighting me can be a way that somebody gets out of their own discomfort. Because if I say, you're gaslighting me, and if you immediately go, oh my gosh, like that, really? You think I'm gaslighting you? Now you're gaslighting me. And now there's gaslighting going everywhere, and we're so far away from a productive conversation. And that's where this eases us into one of my favorite topics of differentiation, which is, if somebody says you're gaslighting me, and you don't think that you are, you don't mean to be, then you sit with that discomfort and say, well, tell me more. Like, tell me what that looks like to you. Help me understand. Because if the girlfriend is just saying, well, your emotions are different than mine, now I'm saying, oh man, yeah, absolutely they are. Because we're two completely different humans and individuals. So,
And now we're arguing about how each other feels.
Yeah,
And it's like, you
that one.
only know how you feel. You don't know how your partner feels.
You really don't.
They don't know how you feel. That's the one thing you just have to trust each other with.
yeah, it's so true, Sid. Like that one, gosh, I think I've worked with 1,600 couples over 15, 16 years. And that one is still, there's so much of just, well, you should know, or everybody believes, or it's obvious
You
that.
need to feel like this because you feel like this. And it's like, but they're telling you that they feel this way.
Yeah, and you're
like,
well, I don't know about that.
everyone
I'm like,
just thinks they're inside everyone else's head because, like, they can't get inside their own or something. I literally
ooh,
don't
that was
know.
deep. That sounded good.
Was it? I don't know.
think it was. I mean, I know,
I think
I
it
know
was.
exactly how you feel, Sid. How do you feel about that one? That's one of my favorite phrases, too. When somebody
Yeah,
says, I know
that's
exactly how you feel, it
And
doesn't.
then explains a completely different situation that doesn't correlate to you at all. And then they want you to start talking about their situation while you're literally hurting. That's a crazy... I've seen that happen a lot.
the confidentiality of not like ratting out certain clients, but I was talking to somebody recently who was diagnosed with a pretty serious disease, and they said that whenever they were talking to somebody about it,
Oh, I've had a disease before.
they did. The first thing they did was like, oh, I know exactly what you're going through, which they don't. And then, or it was like, oh my gosh, my cousin had that, and that was a bad one, boy. You know, this person said that, then they just have to sit there and think, like,
Okay.
I literally just told you that I have that, which is really, it's kind of fun. So my boyfriend,
People are funny.
my boyfriend always tries to make me jealous on purpose for validation. Oh, well said. That is like,
I hate that.
That's-
Can I go pee on that one?
oh, yes. Is that like what
it
does that
away.
mean? Is that like slang?
I'm peeing on that question.
Okay. Is that a thing that kids do?
No.
Okay, now we can talk about Sydney while she's gone. But the part where tries to make me jealous on purpose for validation, what to do. Back to that concept of being differentiated. So differentiated is where eventually everything is a me issue or a you issue. And I mean that in a nice way. So if you are noticing that he is trying to make you jealous on purpose, and you feel like that is not something that you want to participate in, then there's your discomfort to sit with. That's going to bring up some feelings or emotions for you. And then in that scenario, then it's like, I'm noticing that he is doing that, but I don't have to engage. But what will typically happen is then he'll probably try to push more buttons to get you to react because he's looking for that validation. And this one's an interesting concept where a lot of times, and I know that a lot of the men that I work with, they want their partner to desire them, and also then they want their partner to caretake them. And so I've been trying to work more with people being more emotionally consistent. And so if I notice that I am looking for validation, that's a me thing. And so then I need to be able to acknowledge it myself, and then I've been saying lately, I just need to be and do, not try to get somebody else to tell me that I'm okay. And I'm going to wait for Sid to get back, and then I've got a new origin story of where I think this originates from. So we'll talk about that too. Gaslighting doesn't exist. You're all losing it. That's kind of funny. I did a joke on that one time too. Patriarchy breeds narcissism. Absolutely. It really does. Man, because in that scenario, it's when there's the patriarchy and there's someone that has the ultimate say, that they have the last say, then that ultimately they can say, well, I just disagree because I'm in charge. And that is just something that is not very productive. And again, from a differentiated standpoint, I was going to say something funny when you walked in. When somebody becomes aware of something like that, somebody said, I was talking about patriarchy breeding narcissism. I think one of the most difficult things is at that point, oftentimes what we want to do is we want to explain to the person that is in that position as, the final say, that we want to tell them that what they're doing doesn't work. And that's where if they are not being curious or they are not self-aware, then I call that it's an attack surface. So then they aren't going to say, oh my gosh, you're right. Now they're going to make sure that you know that you're wrong. So you've almost given them fuel to the fire. Mm-hmm. But I was going to talk about the origin story of why I need validation. But what were you going to say?
Of why you personally need validation?
Yeah, so I'm going to lay on my couch and I'm going to talk about my
Tony
childhood
therapy
wounds.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's talk about that. That's one good thing about having a therapist dad is I don't feel like I need validation. Or maybe that's just having a good dad. I don't know.
Aww.
I don't feel like I need validation from men. And I really very much
okay,
appreciate
that's my goal.
that.
That life.
I really appreciate that because
Okay.
that's just a bad road to go down.
Okay. How did that work?
Don't get your validation from men, people.
Yeah. Okay, let's origin story. Let's do this, and then we should probably wrap things up. Yeah, we have real shit. So I've been working on this. I'm gonna do a pretty big series on helping people navigate faith journeys, faith crises,
I love
sort of
that.
thing. Yes, I love talking about that stuff so much. Mm-hmm. And so in this scenario, let's start from the very beginning. And when even a good parent is they want to teach their kid the right thing, like this is the right thing. But to a kid, then that means that everything else is the wrong thing. So, and so then if a kid is just being a kid and they say something like, I want to do this, or I don't like this, then the parent says, oh, that's not the right way to say it. That's the wrong way to say it. Here's what the right thing to do is.
Instantly creating like a black and white way of thinking.
So much. And then plus a kid is just being and doing. They're just being a kid.
Yeah.
They break things, they spill things, they forget things. They're just doing it. But then the parents,
bad,
yeah, right,
scream.
anything, because then a parent, scream, like parent, oh hey, calm down, like not right now. Or if they smell bad, you really need to shower. You need to. So
like, okay, sir.
Right, everything the kid's doing, they're and the parent, even like I say, there's a bad version of that with a parent and a good version of that with a parent, where the parent's just saying, no, I need to teach them the right thing because they're doing the wrong thing. So you're right, the black or white. So now when a kid's been externalizing their emotions, this is what I think, this is how I feel, and they continually are told, yeah, that's wrong. Not right now, champ. That's not the right way to do it. It doesn't really work that way. What about them? What did you do to add to it? Then eventually they just think, man, every time I am saying something, then it turns out it's wrong. So then they internalize their emotions. And now I need somebody else to tell me that I'm doing it right. Am I doing this right? Am I saying this right? And then I'm sitting here as a therapist with adult human beings that have been alive for long periods of time, and they're saying, I don't want to say this wrong. And I'm saying, you're just saying it. Just what is it? There isn't a, what if we operate from there isn't a wrong, there isn't a right. Right now it's just, this is what I'm saying. And this is how I'm feeling. But then I think it goes back to what you were saying, if the other person says, I don't like the way you said that. And then we're like, ooh, sorry. Like, I need to change the way I said it. So now all of a sudden, I'm at the mercy of this other person to tell me that I'm saying it right or wrong.
Yeah. And that's what we're used to, right? Because you grow up
Yeah.
as a defenseless little baby.
Yeah.
Your brain is, like, wired to believe that you need to go through someone else to get what you need.
The validation.
Right?
Yep,
And
absolutely.
that's what validation would be.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a point when you're growing up where you really have to separate your parents from your own values and needs, and like
This is
I
good.
don't know, because like it is just growing up, right? Like
Yeah.
you learn that you can take care of yourself and you don't need a parent to go through, and then oftentimes you learn that your parent thought everything wrong.
Yeah.
And
I mean, theoretically.
and I just feel like that is like very interesting.
No, yes, that's
Validation
well
is
said.
very interesting to me.
Well, and what I like what you're saying is that's where it becomes a parent issue. An immature, or emotionally immature parent then doesn't want to let go of their kid because they're like, no, you need to do it this way, because
your
that's where they
brain-
start living through their kid.
And your brain is wired to depend on them because they gave you food, shelter, security growing up. So you can't really understand why.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't want to let them down. That's why that disappointment can be one of the biggest fears of a kid. And what can be really difficult too is even when a parent gets it and they're saying, no, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be. And even the kid's like, right, but I know you're
what
going
do
to be
you want
disappointed.
me to
Yeah,
do?
exactly. And I'm like, ooh, don't put that on me. But then
Yeah.
some parents are like, ooh, I'll tell you what to do. Yeah.
I have tried to understand that because I have some friends who like no matter what they just really want to do what their parents like want them to do.
Yeah.
Even when I don't think their parents have the best outlook on life.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of made it click for me. It's like, well, duh, that's the person that was changing their crappy diaper and feeding them and giving them clothes. It's like it makes sense that it would be hard to break away from
Yeah, for
that.
real.
But I think that's really important because a lot of parents' ways of thinking is so terrible.
Yeah, well, and it is part of the maturation process as you begin to eventually differentiate from your parent. That's like the goal of life.
And you can take the good from them
there you go,
and
right?
create
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, you nailed it. Because when I talk about differentiation, it's funny, my hand starts going here because what differentiation really, there's so many cool ways to talk about it, but it's being able to then even if somebody says, I think you need to do this, they're offering you a suggestion, really. And so I'll take a look at what they're offering me, and it's like, I don't really think any of that's applicable. Mm-hmm. But I might say, okay, I'll take a look at that. Even if somebody says, I think you're being rude, and if I'm really understanding that I'm just being and doing, so then, all right, I'll take a look at that. Tell me what rude looks like, or why do you feel like that's rude? Because I want to be my best version of myself. Now, I don't think what I'm doing is rude, but I mean, I don't know what I don't know. Mm-hmm. But then once they say, well, you said these words, and to me those are rude words, I'm like, oh, okay, that's more of a you thing. But man, thanks for sharing that. Mm-hmm. But isn't it funny because I sound like I'm being a jerk?
No.
But I mean, because like usually when we state our opinion and it is something that is not what the other person wants to hear, then that person often goes, geez, I was just trying to offer a suggestion, and then we're like, oh, no, I'm sorry.
Like nothing was as black and white as we thought.
It
like,
isn't.
And exactly, right?
Yeah, right,
it's
right.
like we all just create these black and white rules to make ourselves comfortable and to make us feel like good people next to each other.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's so situational and it's so like no one knows what they're doing. No one knows what's good and what's bad. It's true though. Yeah. It's like we're all just like trying to pretend like we know to make ourselves feel better. And when you just like step back and just let yourself be, I feel like that is a really peaceful like healing thing. And of course, don't be a piece of crap, but
it's very wise. But I love too because
middle ground.
I pulled up this quote for this concept from, there's a book called Being Wrong, The Adventures in the Margin of Error. And there's this one thing that the author says. She describes how being wrong initially feels indistinguishable from being right. And only in retrospect do we recognize the difference.
See, you read this last time and I didn't understand it.
Do you get it now?
Nope.
Okay,
so you're going to have to read it next time.
We're reading this. No, we're doing it right now. We're doing it right now. But so when I just express myself, I'm just being and doing. I'm just saying something. And then somebody says, I don't like the way you said that. Then I'm like, oh, did I say it wrong? Because I just said it. Mm-hmm. So when you express yourself, it is indistinguishable between right and wrong. Because I'm just being. It
wasn't wrong until somebody else told you it was wrong.
So then why does that mean it's wrong then?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, when I was speaking on this at one point and somebody immediately went to this like, oh, so there is no right or wrong, so you can murder people? And I was like, man, if that's the first place you go, then you need help. you know?
Is literally, that is, turn in on yourself for that one.
Yeah. It's like, sure, buddy. Anyway, all right, so how do you stop needing validation? We'll do that one. How do I deal with losing my hair at 18? Okay, if that is a legitimate question, bless your heart, because I made it all the way to 19. Own it. That's all I would say. Own it. Okay,
On the dome.
Is there free therapy available? Great question, and I highly recommend that you Google low-cost therapy in your area, and almost anywhere you'll find it, because the way that it works is one of my favorite things we talk about, right, is therapist, psychologist, and psychiatrist. Psychiatrist, medical doctor, they do medications
I'm
and
surprised
stuff.
you didn't say they walked into a bar.
Oh, that is funny though, right?
That's what you always say.
Okay. Am I that predictable?
Apparently not.
Oh, yeah.
Never let him know
See?
your next move.
I knew that.
Johnny.
That's right. I don't know what that was.
Ninja?
I want to say, can we edit that out? But we're live. Psychiatrist, medical doctor, psychologist, clinical psychologist, and they can do like evaluations for court, and they can test for personality disorders and stuff. Therapist, which is what I am, you get your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and then you have to build your hours, and a lot of times you do it in a low-cost clinic. So, you might not necessarily get a seasoned therapist, but it is good just to be able to have somebody you can talk to. So, and look for a low-cost therapy or a sliding scale, because most therapists will offer spots that you can get in, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. But here's the coolest thing. Let me just say this as well, because if somebody's saying, well, I don't know if therapy works, okay. I mean, I feel like I can't argue that with you, because if you are in a spot where you're like, I don't think it's going to work, then you're already kind of going into it with a little bit of a negative bias, quite frankly. But what explain sliding scale. Sliding scale is that if somebody will literally say, how much money do you make? And if you say, I make, I don't know, $10 an hour, then they might say, your therapy is $5. If you say I make $500,000 a year, then it is whatever my highest rate is. So sliding scale, and most therapists will offer a sliding scale. Well, a lot of therapists will offer a sliding scale, and your insurance. A lot of insurances are starting to cover therapy more, which is a good thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. What was I?
It should be covered like medical
And
stuff,
it is starting to a lot. Yeah, it really is. It's really starting to a lot.
It almost feels worse. It's like a medical thing that you can't see.
Yeah, for real. No, it's a good way to put it. What I was going to say, what I think is really interesting is why does talk therapy work? And it's because if you are talking to somebody and you're expressing your frustrations or your problems, and that person is saying, "Ooh, wow, I wouldn't have done that," then we're going to start to not want to open up. And then what we talked about earlier is if I just keep things rattling around in my dome, this kind of dome,
Shining dome.
right? Then it has a tendency to go toward the negative. And so then if we are unable to express ourselves and we stay just with all of our thoughts are internalized, then they typically go to the negative. We may tend to withdraw, and now we're turning to the unhealthy coping mechanisms like I wanted to joke and say therapists on TikTok.
Not unhealthy.
No, I don't know. It's better than not, dude. Yeah, right? But when you express yourself and and honestly, it can just be when somebody feels safe. And that's why when a therapist says, man, what was that like? Or tell me more, then it starts to calm down your central nervous system, because you're not being judged and not being told you did it wrong. And it just that alone, to feel heard, to be validated is really helpful. Now, I know a lot of people say, but then I want to know what to do. And that's what's even funny. A lot of times a new therapist is like, well, here's what you need to do. But now I want to help you figure out what is best for you based on who you are as a person. Because if you're saying, well, now tell me what to do. Well, I don't want that responsibility. Not saying like, I don't want it, but it's like, because then if it doesn't work, you say, well, a therapist said to do it. So what was I supposed to do? Because that's where you will get a lot of people that are saying, but well, then now what should I do? Anyway, science scale, own the dome. Ooh, is that merch? Own the dome.
Own the dome.
I like it.
Put on a hat. Maybe.
How do you stop needing validation? This is going to sound a little bit cliched and cheesy, but it is to start being, I was going to say being and doing, but I'm a big fan of a type of therapy called acceptance and commitment therapy. And what the coolest thing about it is that we move from like our typically our values or things that we have got from our parents or from our church or our school. But then we need to start figuring out what matters to us, and so
validate yourself.
Yeah, and that's why I was like
that's
saying,
what I do.
Right, and the way you get there is if once you figure out the things that really matter to you, and you start doing those things of value to you. Now the challenge is this is what we talked about earlier. Maybe your parents, your friends are going to say, "Oh, I wouldn't do that." I mean, I think about when somebody wants to, let's say that somebody wants to be a musician. What is everybody around them going to say? They're going to say, oh, that's not a good way to make a living, or, there's a lot of people out there, that sort of thing.
You suck.
Yeah, basically. And so then somebody's going to say, yeah, you're right. I probably don't want to do it. But that's a them issue. And I call that the psychology of the peanut gallery. Like, why are we putting our power, handing it over to somebody else? You know?
Yeah,
Because we're saying,
exactly
what do you
that.
think about this person that I just asked that isn't me, that I've been thinking about it for a long time? And they're like, I don't think it's a good idea. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I won't do it. That's silly.
Yeah.
You know?
And it sounds so cheesy, but like this is your life, you know? Like you deserve to do what makes you feel good, not what makes some
Murder
random,
people?
not whoever's hoo-ha you came out of. You don't need to make them feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like you do what makes you feel good, and if you know inside that you're a good person, then
Yeah, and that's
it.
So that's where, yeah, and the more you're doing that, then it will eventually get to this place where you're not needing the validation. So you're in a relationship with somebody that is naturally curious about your experience, not trying to tell you what you should do. And that is a view of relationships that I think they don't even know what that looks like until they get a taste of it. And this is where I'll end with this one. So we're all codependent and enmeshed when we get into a relationship because we are emotionally immature and we don't know what we don't know, and we're afraid that if we say or do the wrong thing, that then that person will run away and we'll be alone forever and kicked out of the group. So then, but eventually when we're in a relationship, now when you go through life and things happen, then you start to have your own opinion, and that's becoming differentiated, where one person ends, the other begins. But in the middle is a ton of invalidation. So as soon as somebody says, I didn't know you like that, then we go, yeah, I don't really, you're right, because you may leave me if I have my own opinions or thoughts. But eventually when you become differentiated, interdependent, two individuals, and that's the thing.
I like that.
Right? And that's the thing where, of course we are, because we're two completely different people that grew up in different homes and different places. We're different. And so...
Well, no, and fairy tales
Yeah.
make you think that it's supposed to be
do.
like this.
They do.
And it's like, that is a crappy life if I have to be like this with someone forever. Like, I want to be with someone who builds me up. And who I just love, enjoy seeing them live.
Yeah.
And do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and get excited
It's
about it.
just
Now, we still have these tendencies to be emotionally immature. So, I've joked about this before because I think your mom's, super gorgeous and beautiful and stuff.
She is.
She really is, right?
She's so pretty.
And so when she started, dressing even more like her and adorable, it's so funny
I
because...
love her style.
I know,
too.
right? But it's funny, even my emotionally immature little brain goes, oh, wait a minute, does that mean she, is going after somebody else? But then that's a me issue.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That was nice of you to be real about that.
Oh, it's...
Because that is a thing. Guys think just because their girl is hot that she's trying to leave them. It's
So
like,
then
you're
they
just
control,
with a hot girl.
right? And then they control her, and then
Yeah.
that's the way you lose a hot girl,
Exactly.
right?
And all girls are hot.
That's right. And don't do drugs, and remember who you are, and whatever.
Anything else?
No,
A bad joke you want to leave?
I'm not
it on?
doing bad jokes tonight.
He's never told a bad joke in his life.
No. Hey, people are nice here too. Hi Tony, I love your podcast about narcissism. It's helped my marriage and my life overall. Thank you, who is here saying that. I really appreciate that. And then thank you for your amazing work. They're talking to you.
And go check out Tony's YouTube channel because I'll start uploading. I'm gonna upload the old lives on there.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to get very vulnerable?
Get so vulnerable. You can cry even.
Cue the music. What's fascinating is so TikTok, you've done an amazing job promoting this stuff, and it's so fun, and we're getting more followers, and it's just, I really enjoy it. The podcasts have been phenomenal, and both of the Wake Up to Narcissism and Virtual Couch are in the top 200 of the mental health category, and there's 60,000 in the mental health. So it's amazing.
Let's
I love it,
go.
right? Head over to that YouTube channel though, and it's crickets.
Head over. Oh yeah.
Right?
It's a little quiet
it's
over there.
Yeah, it's you put something up, and I'm sitting there. Okay, I just watched
Your shorts have been doing good though.
Thank you.
They have.
Yeah. That's because you put them up there that way. Anyway.
That's because it's me. Just kidding.
So we would appreciate it if you go do that.
Yeah. Thanks, pals.
Thanks. Okay.
Thanks,
Everybody
guys.
have an amazing night. We will then post this at some point. And
Some point next year. Just kidding.
yeah,
No,
now,
literally tomorrow.
And this is the part where then I fumble of where the button is to turn it off for the next 2.5 minutes. Hold on now.
He's so quirky and old.
But see, here's where I want it to be right there. See where it is right there? But then I have to go like this. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
So long.